Dahoodpostman, Professor Belly Mail. This is not a glorification or a glamorization. This is an education. You can go anywhere in the world and get a couple of lies, but you come right here to get the truth. Be sure to click the notification bell, like, subscribe, and share. Drop a comment down below. So when the dope content hit, it'll feel like it's the first and the 15th. Lock the door. Professor Belly Mail, Hood Postman. Who are here with today?
Dirty Dave.
Dirty Dave. Man, Dirty Dave, it's been a while, man. What you been up to?
I don't do much, man. I'm just, I just watch the clock tick nowadays.
Won any poker tournaments lately?
Not lately. I haven't gambled in a while.
What's the biggest hand you won in poker?
The biggest single hand or the biggest tournament?
Biggest tournament.
Maybe 30 grand.
30 grand.
In that ballpark.
Okay, cool. Let's get to it, man. You've been seeing the recent events with KVD, and I know KVD, Easy, and all these guys had
Thank you.
relationships and stuff,
Yeah.
And I'm sure you had a relationship with KVD as well. What's your thoughts on it with the whole Tupac ordeal, or do you have any thoughts about it?
I don't know. What do you mean by thoughts?
Give me your theory, because everybody seems to have a theory and a perspective. I'm sure you have a perspective.
As far as what happened that night?
Mm-hmm.
Tupac put hands on the wrong person that night, and it cost him his life. And he should have known better. He should have really known better. But you think of it like this. People, they just think, okay, they killed Tupac. But by street law, he was supposed to die that night.
Explain.
Well, you put hands on the man's nephew. The man. And when I say the man, I mean this is the guy on the top of the totem pole. And so his nephew, Baby Lane, which...
So who we talking about? Talking about Keefy Key was on the top of the...
Keefy was the man. He was the shot caller.
So you saying he was shot caller, he was the man. I mean, he was,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, by street law, you got to retaliate. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to let Tupac and the rest of their crew put hands on my nephew, and it's just going to be forgiven. No, it get paid in blood. It get paid in blood. So people don't think about the flip side of that coin. But let's say, for instance, they didn't catch up with Tupac that night, meaning they didn't kill him that night, and he would have had to go through the legal process, and getting killed. I don't want to say this the wrong way, but getting killed was the best thing for Tupac, because he would have been in prison. They would have convicted him for that, and he already has so much weight on him already from the other stuff in New York. Tupac wouldn't have been. He would have been an afterthought in hip hop. He wouldn't have been the big, icon that he is now.
So let me put this in perspective. So what you're saying, being that he did this in the MGM Grand, right, all these camera surveillance and all these footage,
correct?
You're saying that Vegas would have filed a felony assault charge.
Oh, of course, they would have made an example of Tupac that night. See, if you notice, they made an example out of Suge Knight.
They did.
And just think, he wasn't even the main guy in the fight. So what do you think they would have done to Tupac, who already got all these other cases, and he was out on bail. He was out on bail while he appealed his trial. So from a standpoint of him being an icon, getting killed that night was the best scenario for him, because otherwise he would have been going through the legal process. He would have probably spent a lot of time in prison afterwards.
From my vantage point, I think that Tupac died a follower, and I'll tell you why. He was very multifaceted, very talented.
Right.
Very talented. Okay, let me land.
Go ahead.
Very talented. Poetry, acting, music. Went to Juilliard. He was
Right.
very, very, very
Baltimore.
rounded person, individual. but yet he chose to align himself with what was known at that time, Mob Pyro. I think that right there, being that it wasn't nothing he formulated or created, and he decided to get behind it, is ultimate caused his demise. Okay, what's your thoughts?
Well,
He died a follower.
It started way before that. It started with the Boys in the Hood, Eazy-E, NWA. It created a persona for guys they could be this persona of a gangster and make money while they doing it. They could, if you had talent enough to rap, you could pretend to be a gangster, like Cube and Dre and a lot of the rest of them. You could pretend to be a gangster.
So what you saying, that they were pretending?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
That's clear.
And being that I know all of them personally, I would dare say that they wouldn't argue with me about it. But even NWA wasn't guaranteed to become gangster rappers. If you ever pick up that original LP, that 12-inch LP, the songs on it were mostly electro pop, house music type. LA is the place, that BS type of shit that all was getting Compton and the rest of us on the West Coast disrespected by the rest of the rappers. It just so happened that Eric accidentally did Boys in the Hood. It took off, and guys said, "Wait a minute, we can pretend to be gangsters and make money off of it," and that's what they did.
Quick question: was Eazy-E pretending?
Eric wasn't pretending, but he wasn't one of them cold-hearted type gangsters. Because if he was, I'd probably be dead. He probably would have had me killed. So he was for real. Eric wasn't no punk. He was a bully, to tell you the truth. But okay. Eric was about it. He was a hustler. Eric was about it. Eric was for real.
So what was it? What was all three of you guys' relationship? Keefy D, Eazy-E, and Dirty Dave.
At the time I knew Keefy D, he wasn't the man, the shot caller. He was, for lack of a better term, down on his luck. And he would always, even back then, like this, we talking to 84, 83, 84, 85. Well, after he got out of prison, he was telling me like, "Hey, look, I'm gonna, this ain't me. I'm out here hanging out. I'm down on my luck right now, but this is not me. I got to connect. I'm gonna be the man." And shortly thereafter, he was the man. He had a real good connect, and was bringing in the work. And he just wasn't the threatening type character that he is now. Like, he couldn't just tell, like now he could tell, I don't know about now, but back then he could tell somebody to kill this guy and it would probably get done. But I knew him quite well. I knew everybody that was in the car when they killed Tupac, or everybody that they say was in the car. I know every one of them personally. I knew every one of them.
And where are those guys at?
All dead except for Keefy D. T. Brown died in a robbery at a weed shop that he had, and Dre had an aneurysm, Big Dre, and as we all know, Baby Lane got into it with Corner Pocket. Got into it with those guys at the car wash and lost his life there. So it's a cautionary tale, wanting to be involved in this serious, gangbang and being a gangster, serious shit. It ain't no, it's not pretend.
So when you see Keefy D going all these multiple interviews, now you don't have Terry Brown, you don't have Freaky Dre, you don't have Baby Lane. None of those guys can tell the story.
Their side of the story.
And do you think Keefy D might be exaggerating or adding to this story or making it so he can get $1? I'm trying to figure out what is his angle.
It's possible that, in order to, because that's a big badge to wear. Yeah, my nephew killed Tupac. So him putting it on his nephew after he passed away. So you want to know if I think he embellished the story? I think so. I believe, and that's just my opinion. Everything he could be saying could be 100% correct, but I heard a different story. I heard that there was a different shooter. That particular event, the Tupac. I heard it from basically the horse's mouth that he was the one. Dre said he was the one that killed Tupac. I heard him say it. To say it like that. So, Keefy D made a deal, look like, with the feds to keep himself out of jail. And when they tell you got to allocate your crimes, that means you got to tell everything, and you can't tell one lie. You can't lie about what day it was. You can't tell a lie. And there were several instances where I thought he wasn't being honest, and so that's probably what has him in the trick bag right now with the feds, or with Las Vegas police and whatever.
If you can offer any advice to him, what would that be?
It's too late now. He's already, once you let it out the bag, there ain't no putting the genie back in the bottle. You can't undo certain things. So I don't know, other than giving him my support. I don't have nothing against your brother. I liked him. He never, he's always been cool with me. So hopefully he can get through it without, but they took a man's life. They took a man's life that night, and it was a long time ago, but people want somebody to pay. And when they want you to pay bad enough, eventually you're gonna pay. One way or the other.
Got it. Lock the door.
Straight out of Compton, original streets. Grew up with the lion, see what the criminals see. Now he a giant and a pivotal key. Got it down to a science, this the visual streets. He came up with Bullet, he came up with Turtle. Live life to the fullest, he put it all in the journal. We dodging them bullets, we jumping them hurdles. It's the Hood Postman, we in the streets universal.
Hood Postman, Professor Belly Bell. This is not a glorification or a glamorization. This is an education. You can go anywhere in the world and get a couple of lies, but you come right here to get your truth. Be sure to click the notification bell, like, subscribe, share, drop a comment down below. So when the dope content hit, it'll feel like it's the first and the 15th. Lock the door.